Welcome to Philly Fortune Talks with your host, Jake Penny, where the city's brightest minds share the secrets behind their success. Are you ready to be inspired?
Imagine unlocking your highest potential in both business and sports. Today, we explore the journey of Jordan Holbert, CEO of It's All Connected Coaching and Consulting, and a defensive coordinator for Vox Cougars football team. As a dynamic leader, Jordan specializes in empowering individuals and organizations through innovative coaching and consulting services. With a unique blend of business insight and athletic experience, Jordan has transformed countless clients personally, athletically, and organizational pursuits. His strategic way in football field has also earned his recognition for their tenacity and skill. Jordan, it's a pleasure to have you.
Awesome to be here, Jake. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely. So, Jordan, your career spans, in both business and sports. Can you share what initially motivated you to start It's All In Connected Coaching and Consulting?
Yeah. So again, thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be here and have this conversation because I think that's the biggest thing that comes out of coaching and consulting is the conversations, the relationships that you get to build. And what kind of pushed me to start this was seeing a need in my community and in other communities similar to it. As you go through your career, right? You can start off at any age playing a sport, and you're going to get the benefits if you're around the right coaches. Mm-hmm. So we want to create more pathways for people to not only have the opportunity to play sports, but to learn from coaches that care, that are going to be there consistently, and have the knowledge that's worth passing down.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about taking opportunities that I've had and using those as a foundation to build a platform for others to have more opportunities, whether it's in sports, in business, or somewhere in the intersection between the two.
So I was just going to go on to that too. Is like your company focus on not only empowering the individual, but also empowering the business, the organization. So like what key strategies has been, essential in achieving those goals within, empowering, training, coaching individuals as well as, in the organizations?
Right. So one thing that's been really eye-opening is how different those two situations are, right? In order to impact an individual, it can be a one-on-one. It can be a few conversations. It can be, hey, we built this relationship. You let me know when you need me. That can be a coaching relationship, can be that simple. A lot of times it's more complicated than that. But every time you enter an organization, you're doing that only with individuals, but you're also trying to have a positive impact on how the organization works as a whole. So one thing I was challenged by one of my mentors to write down my coaching pedagogy. And that was a year and a half ago at a coaching conference that Temple University hosts. And I got to go to that 2 years ago and just a few months ago in April. And I've met so many mentors at that opportunity and at that clinic. And my first year there, my one of my mentors challenged me to write down my coaching pedagogy. And I said, Coach, what the heck is a pedagogy?
Just about to ask that.
How do you spell that? What does that word mean? So once we got past that little bit of confusion, it's really just your philosophy. Like, what do you think helps people to grow and develop into leaders? And for me, it was simple. I need people that are going to be good teammates and good future coaches. If you're a good teammate, you know how to communicate, have the empathy, you have the awareness in yourself and the awareness about others to be able to give yourself what you need when you need it, but also to give your teammates what they need when they need it. And if you're a great teammate, you're going to put the goals of the team ahead of yourself. And you're also going to know what sacrifices have to be made, because greatness in any aspect, whether it's on the field or in the boardroom, doesn't happen without some sort of sacrifice. And I think that you can learn so much from sport. For me, like wrestling, football, track, and swimming are these sports that I think teach you things that go from the pool or the court or the mat or the field and most directly go to what you want to do, regardless of what it is, once you hang up your cleats. So being able to take all of that and write it down in a way that I can then communicate that back to others and also use it. Sports is a great medium for being able to communicate and to share stories. And that's really what we do with It's All Connected Coaching and Consulting is we take what we've seen to work with others and apply it and tell stories because people learn the best through stories. They can get
Absolutely.
information so many other ways, but if you can give someone a story, they can lock on and remember that. It's just how our brains are hardwired to work. So being able to tap into that is part of a game changer.
Yeah, I did something kind of similar called an Inky Guy.
Okay.
And it's very similar to that. A little bit different at the end. It's more of like, what you love, what people need, and like how you can make the world a better
Yeah.
place, something
Yeah.
like that,
Uh-huh.
while like getting paid or something like that.
Yep.
But it was like a spiritual deep dive,
Yes.
and I was like, at first I was like, what the hell is an Inky Guy? Kind of like what I was just like you said, like Patagonia or something like. But no, I love that philosophy because true team players make great leaders because at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, like you can't climb Mount Everest alone, and you have to get the selfishness mindset out of there. So it's like if you do it as a team, you can conquer so much more, you get more done, and just all around it just makes culture in an organization or with an individual amongst their peers just way better.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you bringing up that Japanese principle. Um, a friend of mine, we had a podcast back in like 2016 to 2018, and it was called Secure the Bag. It was what we would do is we would have a hip hop song and do a lyrical analysis and lyrical breakdown and how it applies to life. And we
Huh.
did an episode on Akagi, uh, which is that exact thing, finding your purpose, like seeking out your purpose, identifying what it is, what the world needs, what you love to do, what you're good at, and what can make you some bread. And if you can find that intersection, you can use that really as a guiding principle. And I think that's what you're doing with this platform and everything else that you have going on. So kudos to you for, one, knowing that concept and two, putting it into practice.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Your experience in sports coaching influenced a lot of leadership. So how do you have you taken, sports coaching and brought it into business? Like, what's the style that you took? Because, like, yeah, coaching sports is a real deal. Like, I remember being coached in sports, and it's like, you just can't be like maybe, I don't know. Maybe you can't be an ordinary person to be a coach. Like, you obviously have to come from the heart first
Right. Right.
and serve a server to serve others. So, how do you bring that into the business?
Yeah. You started off with a great point, right? Like that servant leadership, being able to remove yourself because it's not about you. I'm never going to play a real contact football game. I'm never going to run a track meet. I'm not going to step on a wrestling mat most likely ever again. But I have to be able to take the information and the experiences that I have and be able to communicate it to someone else. So that one, the servant leadership, knowing it's not about you, it's about the people
Hmm.
around you, is one. Two is that communication, being able to communicate information in a way that is different for you versus this player over here or this wrestler over here. I need to be able to communicate that yes, if it's wrestling, we need to be able to execute a double leg takedown. But the way that your body does it is going to be different from the way your teammate's body does it. Right. So it's being able to succinctly and concisely share information, but also acknowledging that everyone has a different learning style. So you take those two things over to business, and it's all about being able to, again, know that there's a goal bigger than just you and get people motivated and organized and having the type of leadership that they want to follow you. Because if you
Hmm.
want people to follow you, you have to give them something that's worth following. So
Right.
always be able to model that servant leadership and knowing how to communicate with people on an individual basis for the goal of whatever the team goal is, the company goal, whatever the bigger mission, vision, and purpose is. The other thing that I do as a coach is I always work in mental performance.
Mm.
So I've got a high school football team of kids in North Philly sitting down before practice and doing meditation. and doing
Wow.
focus exercises and doing visualization exercises, because again, that's the stuff that you can take and apply to everything else. If you can have that awareness, that mental awareness, and know how to focus when times get tough, and understanding that you have the abilities to overcome those obstacles, and you've built up the confidence, you've built up the ability to set your own goals and come up with a structured plan to attack and achieve those goals. Like, it's easier to explain it when you're doing something with a sport, because it's real tangible and
Right.
people can
Physical.
understand it. It's physical. Like, I wrote out a 6-week program for my players, for my football team, and I can walk down the line and see who's been following it and who hasn't, because it's a direct reflection, right? If you put in the factor, if you put in the work, you're going to have the results come out. So once you are able to see that for yourself with like your physical body, your muscular system, you can see that I lift these weights, my muscles get bigger, right? You're getting the reps. If you can do that and apply that to your mental systems, where you're overcoming obstacles and you're setting a goal and achieving it, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You're gonna pick up a weight that's too heavy. You're gonna have an obstacle that might be too big right now. You can't do it, but you can't do it yet.
Right.
I don't allow my players to say the word can't unless they finish the sentence with yet. Because if you can't do something and you say that and you leave it there, that's setting a hurdle in your own mind that
Yep.
you can't do something. But if you say, I can't do it yet, that's like, all right, cool, I got that dog in me. I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to do what I have to do to be a disciplined athlete with grit, DAWG. I'm going to overcome this, and I'm not going to be able to do this right now, but I'll be able to do it in the future.
I love how you start, with the football kids, with your athletes, with mentality first, because, like you said, it's easier to measure something when it's physical, right?
Mhm.
When you're in a sport, in the gym, it's like, yeah, if you put in the work, you'll see the results physically. But also at the same time, it's a lot of mental work because you think your body's going to give up. You
Yeah.
feel like you're dying on the field or in the gym,
Hmm.
but it's your mind, right? Your body's not going to give up. You're not
Exactly.
going to die. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's pain. But if you train your mind first, you can,
You can
accomplish
push your body to do
wonders.
crazy things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the acronym DOG too.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Hey, all good coaches steal. I stole it from someone along the way.
So, like any entrepreneur, personal commitments and running a business is can be challenging at times. Some people say balance, some people say integration. What's your thoughts on that? What daily habits or routines do you have to stay focused and effective?
Yeah. One thing for me is I have to be physical. I have to be in movement. I have to be in motion. I think better. My body feels better. And when
Hmm.
those two things are clicking, like, that's, I think, what you have to have that foundation. I live by a simple principle. Like, you see me, for the listeners, who are anyone who's watching, I have a blue cup. It's got Vox Cougars football on one side. It's got Coach Jordan on the other side. You won't see me without my cup and without a notebook, right? Like, I've always got those two things within an arm's distance, because for the cup, it's simple, it's hydration, but it's also a reminder that everyone's either a fountain or a drain.
Mm.
I need to be someone who fills my cup. I need to fill my own cup, but I need to surround myself with people who fill my cup. If I'm with people who are always draining my cup, it's going to drain me. And that's vice versa, right? If I become a drain, which I've become a drain before, right? Like, where I get out of whack, where I'm not doing my writing, where I'm not doing my own time and meditation, where I'm not taking care of my own wellness, I can turn into a drain, right? But if I do all those things, like the meditation, having time for myself to exercise, having time with my family, having time with my dogs, having time with my wife, like, those are the things that fill my cup. If my cup's full, then I can pour out into others. If my cup's empty, I've got nothing to pour out. And as a business owner, especially in a coaching and consulting type role, it's all giving. It's give, give, give,
Yeah.
give. But in that giving, you get so much back. Like, it's not give and take, it's give and receive, right? I give, I give, I give, and I'll receive what's back to me in due time. right? But I'm not out here taking. And I don't think you can do that, especially coaching youth sports. You can't be in it for the take. You'll receive on the back end, but you're not going to be able to take. There's not, if you're getting into it, that's strictly just for the money. You're getting into it strictly for the fame. Like, that's not it. That's not it. You don't want to bet your money and your fame off of the backs of 12 to 18-year-olds. It's just
Right.
to go.
Yeah, it's the law of reciprocity. The more you give, the
Absolutely.
more you'll get. The more you put out in the universe, the more you will receive. Alex Hermosi says something like, if you do it to become famous,
Mhm.
it's not going to happen. But if you
Yeah.
do it to make a difference and serve purpose, and yeah, people want to make money, but at the same time, it's like, is the value you're giving worth 10 times the money you're getting receiving? So it's like that's something you have to live by for sure.
I've heard that, right? And like when you're younger, you're starting out in business, sometimes it does feel like it's got to be about the money. You've got bills to pay,
Right.
student loans, you got to have somewhere to live, whether you buy, whether you rent, you got to have a car to get here and there. And then you also want to have a good time, right? Like
Yeah.
you know that the money is important. But if that's all you chase, like I chased it and I got burnt out because you're getting up, you're trading your time, your energy, and you're trading yourself for a check.
Yep.
And you can do that for a while. And there's some people that can do it forever and they're good with that. But
Majority of people do.
that's just not who I am and how I work, how I operate. So I had to step out on faith that like, hey, you've gone through some tough things before. This isn't going to be easy, but on the other side of this, are you and your family and the people that depend on you going to be in a better position?
Mm.
That's really what kicked my butt up out of the corporate W-2 world into, it's all connected coaching and consulting.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody falls in a rut sometimes along the journey.
Absolutely.
I mean, I fell in a 3-year rut where it was just business, 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 chasing the almighty dollar. And then all of a sudden I turn around and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fat, I'm overweight. Like I used to be, like in the gym 3 hours a day my whole life. And I was like, I don't know, 6% body fat. And next thing you know, I turn around, I'm like 25, you know.
It's a big
It-
change.
oh yeah. And I was like, I looked around my life and I was like, man, the pillars of wealth were suffering
Mhm.
across the board. Yeah, business and money was that cup was filled, right? But relationship, health,
Mhm.
contribution, family, adventure, fun, all those were like, man, they were the desert. So I
Yeah.
was like, I had to get back on track and like integrate and
How did
be
you do it? Because like
uh,
3 years is a long rut to be able to get yourself out of. Like, what was your wake up moment? Like I call it the mirror moment when you had to look yourself in the mirror and like the person looking back at you isn't the person that you that you recognize. So like, what was that moment for you?
yeah, like I like to use this word like broke, busted, and disgusted.
Okay.
Like broke, no, but busted and disgusted, yeah. Like you eventually wake up one day and you're so fed up with yourself. It's like you look in a mirror and it's like, man, like what the hell are you doing? Um, and I mean, I truly don't know. Accountability, partners, coaches, mentors, hiring a coach like you, hiring a trainer. And I truly believe people should have trainers in all aspects of life, coaches in all aspects, and not just fitness, but a relationship coach, a nutritionist coach. If you
Absolutely.
can afford it, or I mean, there's YouTube. I mean, YouTube is amazing, but just take the time out of your day and educate yourself because so many people stop educating themselves the day they graduate high school or college, and they live in this static state where they're
Hmm.
no longer feeding themselves. And then
Yeah.
when you stop growing, you are dying. That's physics. So it's like I just started really immersing myself in you know having a miracle morning too. Serving me first
Yep.
early before the rest of the world's up so that I can better serve other people and have more like, yeah, I started waking up at 5 o'clock every day, going to the gym, hitting the sauna, reading a book, journaling, affirmations, visualizations. I built a vision board, more like a vision portrait. That shit is nice.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that.
and started getting real in line with what I wanted, where I was, and what I wanted to become. And that's like where I think I fell off. I just saw this one thing, this North Star that wasn't a complete full North Star, and I just focused on that one thing. And yeah. But here we are. We're back on track. So
Awesome, man. Thanks. I know this is your podcast, and I'm over here asking you.
oh, good. So, your approach, in coaching involves integrating physical, mental, emotional, social health, some spirituality too, mindfulness. Can
Mhm.
you share an example of how this holistic approach has made a huge difference in a specific athlete or a team?
Yeah. So, one of my athletes was actually on the news last night.
Oh, no
On
way.
CBS News for an internship that he's doing. And this kid is awesome. Like he played football for me for the first time last year. Never played the game before. Ended up starting at outside linebacker for me and was top one or two tacklers. I forget what the stats broke out to, but it was one or two in tackles, having never played football before in his 10th grade year. So, this is someone who asked all the questions, right? And when I saw that he was as inquisitive as he is and as coachable as he is, just naturally that relationship got a lot stronger. And for
Hmm.
me, I live in the neighborhood that I coach in. So the kids that I coach, they know where I live. They know my car when they see me. They know my wife. They come over for dinner. Like this is where we are. Like we are basically, it feels like almost like a campus. Like I'm a head coach of a football team.
Okay, that's
So
awesome.
it's a cool feeling. But with Ramin, he pours into so many different parts of himself because he's done that. He's done what you recommended, going out and getting coaches in different aspects of life, right? So what he was on the news for is an internship that he's doing called Building Better Men, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
And not only do you learn about how to be a man in this internship, you learn an actual skill. So
Hmm.
a carpenter actually teaches you carpentry skills. So whether he goes and becomes a carpenter or not, he still has that skill set that he's able to understand. All right, cool. If I have this problem and I want to be able to fix it with this skill, I can do this, this, and this, and it'll be done. So whether that's something he takes and goes and makes money for, or it's something that he doesn't have to call someone else to do for him, that's valuable knowledge. That's valuable information that he's gone
Right.
and sought out on his own. Other things that he's done, he's a phenomenal writer, a poet. Like
That's
uh,
cool.
winning poetry slams, competing in poetry slams when he's not playing football, not running track, not playing basketball. Um, and he reads. Like you talked about it. Like you can never give up learning. As soon as you stop learning, you start dying. You stop growing, you start ceasing to exist. And it's already in him, it's in other players on the team. I have a player who just hangs out at the library all summer.
That's sweet.
Like he just hangs out. He came, met me for an art museum workout, opened up his backpack, took out the stack of books that he was returning, and had a list of the books that he was going to get. If you're that type of kid now, you're building the habits, you're building the foundation to continue to be a lifelong learner way past high school, past college. And now we're at the point where there's so much access to information. There's podcasts, there's webinars, there's workshops, there's masterminds, there's Coursera, there's YouTube. Like you can learn stuff on TikTok.
Oh
If
yeah, I
if
learned a
you
lot.
decide, yes, if you decide what you're gonna learn, if you
Yep.
just let TikTok throw stuff at you, your brain might turn to mush. But if you're intentional about what you're watching and how long you're watching it, I think that social media can be a great place to learn. As we dive into this next realm of the internet with artificial intelligence, there's going to be so many more opportunities to access information. But one thing I really want to teach everyone I come in contact with, especially my youth athletes, uh, how to decipher good information versus bad information.
Hmm.
What's the information that you should be taking in? How do you discern between the two? And how do you control what you're seeing? Because at this point, like if you're not careful with what your algorithm, people blame the algorithm. You can't blame the algorithm. The
No,
algorithm
it's your
kind of
eyeballs.
a mirror. It's a mirror of
Yep.
what you're putting out. So I think it's cool to have that mirror, to have that algorithm, and like I think it's fascinating to take someone else's Instagram and just like hit the magnifying glass. What pops up on your Discover page versus what pops up on Jake's Discover page or Coach Jordan's Discover page, right? Because that shows you what you're spending your time on when you're on these platforms, and it's also showing you what you're putting into your own mind. So yeah, that's it. That's you gotta take control of what you can control and be intentional and just continue to learn. So the athletes that are doing that, I'm so excited to see where they go. Because I've had a few athletes who have gone on to college and are competing at the college level now. I have yet to have someone graduate college, but I'm super excited for that. Um, and everything's so new. So for us with Vox, we were the first sports team at the school. So the school was previously a junior high,
Okay.
and in 2013-14 timeframe, unfortunately, a lot of schools in Philly were closed.
Yep.
And then 2018-2019, the school reopened. So 2021, during COVID, I happened to meet the head coach of our team, Robbie Marsden, at the park in the neighborhood. I was taking my dog there. He has a dog who looks similar to mine. We got to talking about that. He was saying, "Oh, I coach football." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Like, if you need any help, let me know." And he was actually setting up for their first practice. And I was like, "Yo,
Hmm.
man, there's no kids here. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Hey, like if you ever need help, I live 1 minute over there." And I pointed towards my house. And by the time I walked back to my house, I had an email in my inbox saying, "Hey, if you're serious, I definitely need some help." So
Nice.
for us to go from there to where we are now in such a short amount of time really excites me for what we're about to do next.
Yeah, I mean, you're actively involved in mentoring and in your community, doing community initiative too. So, like, can you tell me about more of your efforts and what drives you,
Mhm.
your commitment to give back?
I saw it firsthand. I saw that that's what you have to do for your community. Like if you are going to be someone who's going to be a community leader, you have to put in the work. You have to work harder. Again, it comes back to sports for me. Like I wanted to be a team captain, and I'm a 5'5". I was a 160-pound outside linebacker in high school. Like I wasn't even supposed to start. I had to work harder. So putting in that work and seeing the results again, like I also wanted to be team captain, so I had to work harder.
Mm,
I had to work hard in the classroom. I had to work hard on the field. I had to work hard in the weight room. I had to work hard in the film room. I didn't have an option but to work hard and be a leader. So that set the groundwork for when you do that, you start to see what other people need. And coming up in Philly, I saw like I moved to Philly when I was 17 to go to Temple, and I've
uh-huh.
been living in Philly for all but 1 year, except when me and my wife went to Wake Forest, North Carolina, or Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for me to attend Wake Forest to get my master's in business. We came right back to Philly the year after, and we've been here ever since. And seeing the need that's here, it's so clear that we need community, that we need more health and more wellness, and the two go hand in hand. So being able to find that's the consulting piece. So I kind of spent a lot of time talking about the coaching part if it's all connected. The consulting piece is building partnerships. So working with different organizations that are already doing this work, but helping them to magnify and be more strategic and find ways to develop more community, because there's so many people that are doing great work and combating gun violence, combating poverty, combating all of these things that have had such a negative toll on individuals, but also communities as a whole. But when you're doing things in silos, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So when you bring it all together and you have the relationships, you don't have to get rid of your organization or marry your organization to another and combine them. But how do we work together to magnify organization A, organization B, organization C to really have the biggest holistic impact on the community?
Yeah, somebody that actually, I don't know totally personally, but I know the organization, and one of my buddies is on the board, the Chase Lenfest Center
Yeah, yeah,
in North Philly. I was there for their first like ph- philo- their philanthropic event. They had like a dinner and everything a couple months ago, and it was really good. But that's an
That's the
awesome
Philly
thing you're
Youth
doing.
Basketball, PYB, right?
What was that?
Is that connected to PYB, Philly Youth Basketball up Bridge?
I'm not too sure.
I think Chase Lenfest is on that board as well. If it's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
amazing
there's so many
place.
good people. There's so much philanthropy. There's so many people that are involved in the community. It's just bringing it all together.
So, what's your long-term goals for all connected coaching and consulting, and how do you plan to go about it and achieve it?
Yeah, so we're super early in the stages, which is exciting, because it's growing, it's changing every day. So again, on the coaching piece, it's using the power of sports to help create future leaders, right? So it's creating that platform for them to not only develop the skills in their sport, but also, and more importantly, to develop the mental skills that are going to transfer. And then you first you engage through the power of sports, then you educate on how to build those mental performance skills, and then you empower them to create and define and achieve their own pathways for success.
Hmm.
So one project that we're working on right now is, again, the storytelling part of sports. So sports aren't for everyone in a specific school, but storytelling is a skill that anyone can benefit from. So building up, specifically Vox, using the media lab that we have now, to create our own mini ESPN, which is super
That's
fun.
yeah.
I worked in sports. I worked for the Sixers for 6 years. So I got to interview Dr. J. I got to interview Allen Iverson. I have colleagues that work for all across the NBA, all across the sports landscape. One of my best friends is going to the Olympics, for work, like full paid trip to Paris. So
Wow.
tapping into that network and turning that network into mentors that can then help lead this next generation, whether they're on the field or they're in the boardroom or they're behind a camera or they're the ones with the microphone, kind of like what you're doing, right? Like you're helping to build connections in community in Philadelphia with entrepreneurs through your podcast.
Hmm.
A student who wants nothing more than to go to use his platform that he's building on YouTube and his podcast to be able to go to the All-Star game in LA just to meet Brown from the Celtics. Jaylen Brown is like his absolute idol, and not just for what he does on the court. Again, you're seeing Jaylen Brown like, I can't stand Boston. I don't want to ever go there. I don't want to see their green. I don't want to hear about the Celtics. But like I can recognize that Jaylen Brown is awesome for the Boston community. I can realize that, hey, in his press conference, when he's talking about, oh, I just got this fat check to play basketball, my job as a community leader is to pour back and fight these problems. So when you see someone like that, it makes it a little bit easier for someone like me to think that there's enough good people out here to
Hmm.
do the impossible. Because that when you ask me what I want to do long term, I want to make Philly equal for everyone. I want the kids that I see doing so much more with so much less, with so much more stacked against them. I want to see those kids have opportunities to succeed.
That's amazing. Well, Jordan, it's been a pleasure having you today on Philly Fortune Talks. For listeners who want to connect with you or learn more about your work in coaching and consulting, what's the best place for them to go?
Follow me on Instagram, coach.jordanholbert. Check out my podcast that I do with my wife called We Gotta Talk. We talk about marriage, relationships. We talk about whatever, but we also have on other guests to dive deeper into whatever that week's topic is. So check us out there. Connected coaching and consulting.com is the website. And look out for a new brand launch called ILU, which stands for I Love Us. It's an apparel brand that me and my sister got started not too long ago. We're going to do an official launch and everything, but I love ILU. I love us. And if you're in the circle, you're with us. And if not, kindly please step out the way.
Well, awesome. Take care.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Philly Fortune Talks with Jake Penny. Inspired to share your success story? Visit phillyfortunetalks.com/guest and let's inspire together.